Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Business by Belief. It is freezing outside. It's just, I don't know what part of the country you were in, but in the Carolinas, it is just cold. Had a chance of some winter precipitation last weekend, and we didn't get it. But this weekend, it looks like we're either in for some snow or some ice. So you never really know. I mean, we all know if you're from here, it'll either do something or it won't. And, regardless of what they forecast, we'll just wake up Saturday and Sunday morning and whatever we got, we got. It'll probably end up being 68 and sunny, but I'll take that too. So I hope everybody's doing well. It's had a good start to the year. I want to start out with a funny story, and my wife is going to kill me for this. You know the old saying, when your wife asks you to do something over and over again, and we all say, well, eventually we'll get to it. That's what man's answer usually is I'll get to it. She has been after me I've got a shop in the back of our house, and in the window I put up a wreath at Christmas time, and she has been after me to take that thing down, and I just haven't done it. I've got to climb up on the roof to get it, and I've been busy or lazy or both, and just haven't bothered to take it down yet. And she said something about it again yesterday, and I told her I'd get it. I finally unplugged it, at least, so it wasn't turning on anymore. Well, I pulled in the driveway this afternoon, and lo and behold, right in front of me, she is on this porch roof, metal roof. Now, my wife is not a fan of heights at all. She doesn't like them. It scares her to have to climb up and down stuff. But she is on this roof, which was amazing to me that she was even up there. And I already knew why she was there. But what was amusing about it was that she used a 6-foot step ladder to climb up onto an 8-foot high roof. She got up there and she couldn't get back down. And I got out of the truck and I walked up to the shop and I said, how long have you been up there? And she said, about an hour. I said, well, why didn't you call me or my dad or somebody to come and get you? And she said, my phone is down there. So she was stuck on this roof by herself at home, couldn't get down, couldn't call anybody. Her only option was to jump or to try to dangle off the roof and step on this ladder, which she had tried to do, and it almost fell over. I'll tell you, she said that she read in her devotion this morning to try to take a task off of her husband's hands. And I love my wife very much, and she, out of goodness of her heart, and just because she can't stand for stuff not to be done, came out here to try to help with that and got stuck outside on a cold roof for an hour, wind blowing. At least she had a coat on. And she said that, the cat was staring at her, the dogs were staring at her, the goats were staring at her, the horse was staring at her. There's nothing she could do except just sit there and wait. So bless her, I love her to death, but that is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. We have a security camera outside, and I don't know if it picked up that whole fiasco or not, but I'm going to find out. And if it did, I'm pretty sure that videos get circulated around our family and friends. So that made my day. Thank you, sweetie, for doing that. Please don't climb up on the roof again. I don't need a phone call that you have fallen down or stuck again, but I thought that was pretty good. So last night we had our men's meeting at church, our brotherhood meeting, and the man who spoke at that was somebody that I admire greatly. I look up to him, heed his advice when he gives it. I trust his advice. His biblical knowledge is dead on and far surpasses anything I will probably ever be able to remember in my head, just because that's not a quality or a trait that I carry very well. And he gave a great message last night. I'm not really going to talk about his message because it was personal. But at the end of it, he made 3 key points. And one of those key points was something that I have been sort of wrestling with in my head over the last few weeks, maybe a month. And that is who you take advice from. Who am I looking to, or who are we looking to at work and in our daily lives and in our spiritual lives to get advice from, to go to when we have a problem, to help give us some direction. And he really kind of hit that last night. in business, there's all sorts of gimmicks out there. Pay us this kind of money, and we'll help you grow your business, or come to our seminars or webinars, and we can teach you how to get customers, and how to manage your business the right way, and how to grow it and succeed. And lo and behold, you'll be as successful as us in the next 2 years. There's definitely all sorts of things. And I'm not saying that all of those are gimmicks. Some of those may work, and they're probably person dependent, right? Like how much effort you're actually willing to put into those things. And then there's always, people, your friends, your family, that you lean on and look to for advice, because other people can see things that you can't see, and other people have had different experiences than you've had. So, I'll look to people to get their perspective, an idea I may have, or their perspective on something that came up, or an issue that arose, or a situation that I found myself in. And I think that when we do that, we just got to be very careful of who those people are. And if you kind of, if we connect the spiritual side with our daily work side, there's two places in Proverbs that really kind of stick out to me. And the first one is Proverbs 15:22. And Proverbs 15:22 says, "Plans fail for a lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." I'm sorry. And if you could take your job, your career that you're in, we tend to get sort of locked into a tunnel vision, right? Like we've got our mind set on this one path, this one road, this one direction, and we kind of forget to look at the broader picture. You've got a goal in mind. 2026, you might have a financial goal. You might have a goal to gain a certain percentage of clientele or market share in whatever you're doing. You might have a goal to get a promotion to a certain spot in the company that you want to be at, which is great. We all need goals. We need something that we're striving after. But if you get tunnel vision and that's all you focus on, you tend to let everything else fall by the wayside. So if you've got a group of talents that you're good at and that make you good at your job, and you get your focus on one particular task, you tend to let all those other talents go by the wayside. And when you don't use them, you lose them, right? If you don't keep it in practice, then you lose your ability to master those, and to become an asset that your employer or your clients need, because you were so good at those things. But if you're just focused on that one thing and you have that tunnel vision, then you just don't use them. And if you don't use them all, everything you do comes as a package. You're probably good at 5 or 10 different aspects of your job easily. But if you just focus on a certain 2 or 3 of them to get to a certain point that you want to get to, everything else starts to fall apart. If you're in real estate and you're good at writing contracts and negotiating, and you're actually good at returning emails and phone calls, and you enjoy taking people around and showing them properties, and you're good at explaining things, and you're good at helping them decide on insurance and inspections and appraisals, and who to use, and the right order to go about doing them in, and the timing on everything. You're good at getting documentation they need, or following up with the attorney to make sure all that paperwork's done. All of those things make a good real estate agent, right? Care for their clients, all of that makes a good real estate agent. But if you have a goal of getting a certain amount of homes under contract in a year, then you may start focusing a little bit more on your marketing and sales, getting your name out there, ad space, podcasts, whatever it may be to get your name out there. But then you start to dwindle off on using your other skill sets, which helps you get to where you already are. And so you've got to make sure that you keep everything in one basket. So plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. So if you've got tunnel vision, you kind of get locked into one way of thinking, and you might miss the right road because you have closed your mind off to other options, other avenues. other parts of your personality and character traits that help you in your daily work life to get where you need to go. So if we can use people that we can trust and who give us good advice, it can help kind of broaden our perspective. You seek out the advice of people you know who have experience in what you do, build a good network of people you can go to talk to and get advice, and weigh everything they say carefully. Because even though they give great advice and what they're giving might work for them and might work for their situation or situation they found themselves in. So you've got to weigh that and see how you can apply it to your life. Not that their advice is wrong or not applicable, because it most likely is if it's somebody you can trust and you know who has a history of giving good advice that comes from the heart and comes from a place of caring. But it might just be applied differently in your situation. The other one is also in Proverbs, and it is Proverbs 11:14. For lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. So there's a common thing there. Many advisors, not just one, not just two, many, many advisors. Any good leader, any good business owner, any good manager, and if you're striving to become one of those, this is this is very good advice that you can get from scripture and apply it to that career path. But any good leader needs a set of advisors as well. So, as a Sunday school teacher, deacons, pastors, ministers, all of those, even though in the church are higher on the hierarchical chain, so to speak, they all have people they go to, right? Like our pastor has people he goes to for advice, for guidance when he has a problem, to help him to talk through it, to try to figure it out. He's got people that he trusts to help with personal problems or issues going on maybe at home or in his life that he can't bring to a congregation. Just like we won't bring stuff, lots of times to a whole congregation, but we will bring it to people we trust. And the same goes for work. You need people, even if you're at the top of the ladder, you've got to have people you can go to for advice, because no matter what you may think, you don't know everything, not even close. I'm very good, in my opinion, at what I do for work. I've been doing it a long time. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. I learn something new all the time. And here's the thing, lots of times what I learn isn't just material facts about the job I'm doing. It's character traits or personality flaws or different ways that I could go about doing business or expressing things or explaining things. So always learning something new. Always learn something new. But if you have things going on and they're causing you problems, it's a hard patch, it's a rough patch at work or in your life, sometimes you're kind of blinded by your emotions, and you need to be able to make rational decisions, and you need to be able to make them with pure intentions of doing the right thing and making the right call to benefit your business, your job, your career, and yourself, not just making money, because it's not always just about making money. But if you're, a leader of any sort or higher up on the ladder at a company or something, the wise ones, the ones who have a ton of knowledge, whether it's at home, at church, at work, they seek the counsel of others. They seek the counsel of other like-minded people who think the same, have the same beliefs, who have been through the same thing. And then after they have all that information from those people, then they can make a more informed decision. As a believer in Christ, I have aligned myself with men and women at church who, and in my life, period, that believe the same, that have the same outlook on the world, who have the same desire to strengthen their walk with Christ, have the same desire to bring others to Christ, have the same desire to just live a better life, be a better husband, be a better father, be a better son, be a better citizen, a member of the community than I used to be. Somebody that reflects Christ well, who's a light who's a light for the church and not the darkness. I've chosen to align myself with those people, so when I go to them for advice, I know that I'm speaking to somebody who's like-minded. And I'm getting much better at discerning when I'm talking to somebody and asking for advice. If it's somebody who I typically don't go to or don't know, I'm getting better at telling whether this person is actually giving me sound advice or, sound biblical advice, sound honest advice, or if it's sort of, backhanded, or what's the right word for it? We'll say unethical, maybe, is a word for it, or just bad or selfish or greedy. If it's something that won't benefit the long-term good but gets a short-term gain, that's probably not what I'm looking for. But something that hurts somebody else in the process, I'm not looking for that. If it's something scripturally that's incorrect, that's something that goes against the teachings of the Bible and what's right and what's wrong, if it's a sin, I've learned that I probably don't want to get advice from that person. Now, here's what you can take from that, and you can apply this whether it's at church, a spiritual question, or just something in your personal life or something at work. If you have gotten advice from somebody or gotten counsel from somebody and the advice has been wrong or bad or immoral or unethical, whatever the case may be, I think that we have an obligation to reverse that and try to, in turn, go back and counsel and guide that person into maybe the right way of doing it, the right way to handle that situation, the right way, the above board way to handle that problem. Try to, in a scriptural or spiritual situation, to show them in the Bible where what they're telling me is incorrect. Here's the correct way to do it, and let's talk about the why. Let's go through this and let me explain it to you, and maybe draw them into the word a little bit more. So, just be careful who you get advice from. I think that's something we could all benefit from. We tend to listen to the world a lot and what everybody else says and what Facebook tells us and what the news tells us, and all of that stuff. And sometimes you just got to sit back and listen to your gut, and sometimes you just got to sit back and listen to somebody who actually has your best interest at heart. And that can be hard to find in today's day and age, but they're there. And if you attend church, that's a good place to start. There's a lot of people who run businesses that go to my church, and we can talk about this kind of stuff. If you work at a bank, there's probably bankers at your church or somebody who's worked in finance to some degree. I mean, there's somebody at your church, I'm sure, that you could lean on for this stuff. So that's it for today. Just kind of been on my heart, and then that kind of man that I was speaking about spoke about it last night, and it really touched home. So I thought I'd get on tonight real quick, and of course, I guess that hasn't been real quick today. It's been 20 minutes, but just kind of talk about it. Hope everybody has a great week, a great month. This weekend, if you're involved with this winter weather, please stay safe. I'll be praying for everybody. I love you. Take care.